Have you ever noticed that the more you open up to family, the more tangled and complicated things can become? By this stage in life, many of us have gathered some hard-earned wisdom, and one lesson stands out clearly. Not everything needs to be spoken aloud. In my younger years, I believed that total, unfiltered honesty was the key to staying close with the people I loved. But life has taught me that sometimes silence isn't secrecy, it's serenity. It's not about hiding who you are. It's about choosing peace over conflict, privacy over pressure. After 65, you've earned something precious. The right to protect your energy, to hold certain parts of your life sacred, and to honor your own emotional well-being. In this video, I'll be sharing 5 important things that, from my experience, are better kept to yourself, especially if you want to avoid unnecessary stress and keep your relationships healthy, vibrant, and full of respect. If you cherish your independence and want to enjoy emotional freedom in these golden years, you're in exactly the right place. Stick with me until the end, and if what I share resonates with you, be sure to subscribe, tap the notification bell, and become part of our warm, wise, and ever-growing community of kind-hearted seniors. Now, let's dive in. You're going to want to hear this. Number 1. Financial decisions and assets. If there's one lesson life has hammered home for me, it's this. Not every truth needs to be shared in full, especially when it comes to money. As we grow older, there's a natural desire to be open with our loved ones, to avoid misunderstandings or disputes down the line. We think, if I lay everything bare, my savings, my investments, my plans for the future, there won't be any surprises, just gratitude and relief. But more often than not, full transparency invites something quite different: interference, unsolicited advice, and subtle, unspoken expectations. Different generations often see money through vastly different lenses. What feels secure and wise to you might seem outdated or questionable to them. Let me share a story that illustrates this all too well. I once knew a woman named Joyce, a graceful, soft-spoken lady of 78. She had built a modest but solid nest egg through decades of hard work, sacrifice, and wise choices. Feeling proud and wanting to be proactive, she sat down with her 3 grown children one afternoon and laid it all out: her savings, her investments, her estate plans. She expected appreciation, maybe even a sense of shared security. Instead, the floodgates opened. Are you sure you should still live in such a big house? Wouldn't it make more sense to invest differently now? Maybe you should start gifting to us sooner rather than later. Without her asking, her daughter even brought over a financial advisor, a stranger, to review everything. What began as a gesture of trust turned into a steady stream of second-guessing and subtle pressure. Joyce, who had once felt confident and independent, began feeling like she was under surveillance, her decisions no longer her own, but subject to debate and scrutiny. And that's the danger. Once you share too much without setting firm boundaries, you risk surrendering the very independence you spent a lifetime earning. Even well-intentioned family members can cross invisible lines, not out of malice, but simply because they think they know better. In worse cases, people who barely had you on their radar suddenly show up, asking probing questions, expressing sudden interest in your well-being, with one eye clearly on your wallet. It's not always overt, it's not always cruel, but it is almost always unsettling. That's why I tell my peers this, and I hope you'll take it to heart. It's perfectly okay, even wise, to keep some things private. You're not being secretive. You're safeguarding your peace. You do not owe anyone a detailed breakdown of your accounts. You do not have to explain or defend your choices. Whether you're buying a new couch, booking a dream vacation, or treating yourself to new hearing aids. Of course, it's important to plan ahead. Ensure your estate is organized. Appoint a trustworthy power of attorney. Have a clear, legally sound will. Choose carefully who you'll confide in when the time is truly right. But premature sharing can shift the family dynamic in ways you might not expect. And once that door swings open, it can be very hard to shut. If you ever feel that someone's paying more attention to your bank account than to your heart, that's a warning sign. If you find yourself hesitating before making purchases you can afford, worrying about the opinions of others, that's not freedom. That's pressure. And you deserve better. You spent decades building your life, your stability, and your future. The person best equipped to decide what brings you joy, comfort, and security is you. Let me leave you with this thought. Privacy isn't secrecy. It's protection. Protect your peace. Keep financial conversations thoughtful and measured. Share only with those who have truly earned your trust. Your independence is not something you need to justify. It's something you've already earned. Now protect it, as fiercely as you've protected everything else you've ever loved. Number 2, health concerns that aren't urgent. As we grow older, it's only natural for our bodies to have their ups and downs. A twinge here, a restless night there, feeling a little more worn out after a busy day. These changes are simply a part of life's rhythm, not warning signs of disaster. And because we love our families, and they love us, it's tempting to share these small moments with them. A casual comment about a sore knee or a stiff back, a passing mention of feeling extra tired. We believe that sharing shows trust and connection. But there's a delicate line between keeping loved ones informed and unintentionally overwhelming them. Sometimes what we see as harmless updates can spark unnecessary worry, stress, or even a subtle shift in how our family perceives us. I think of my friend Tom, 74 years old, sharp, energetic, and full of spirit. One afternoon, after a few hours working in his beloved garden, he casually mentioned to his daughter that his shoulders were sore. To him it was nothing, just part of a good day's work. But to his daughter, it was a red flag. Before he knew it, she had booked a doctor's appointment without asking, called him twice a day to check on him, and even suggested hiring a gardener to take the burden off his hands. Tom wasn't angry. He understood it came from love, but he couldn't help feeling a quiet frustration. In one small moment, his family had stopped seeing him as the capable man he knew himself to be, and started seeing someone fragile, someone in need of protection. That's the risk. When we talk too often about every small ache or complaint, even in passing, it can subtly alter how people see us. They might start excluding us from activities, assuming we need more help than we really do. They might begin making decisions for us instead of with us. And that loss of perceived independence, even when wrapped in good intentions, can sting more deeply than anyone realizes. Now, this doesn't mean you should hide real health issues. If something serious arises, something that impacts your daily life or needs genuine support, your loved ones absolutely deserve to know. That's not just smart, it's essential. But for the everyday, manageable discomforts of life, it's perfectly okay to keep them to yourself. This isn't secrecy, it's self-respect. It's preserving your right to live life on your own terms without the burden of being micromanaged or misunderstood. You've lived in your body long enough to know what's normal and what demands attention. You have earned the dignity of deciding how much to share and when. Growing older should not mean surrendering control. On the contrary, it should be a time of deeper self-trust, of knowing your rhythms, honoring your instincts, and standing firm in your wisdom. Don't let the loving but often overbearing concern of others cloud your sense of confidence. At the end of the day, peace in your later years doesn't come from having everyone hovering over you. It comes from knowing yourself, trusting your judgment, and choosing what to share with quiet confidence. Because true strength isn't in how much you reveal, It's in how gracefully you carry what you know. Number 3. Your true thoughts on family conflicts. By the time you reach this season of life, you come to understand a simple but powerful truth. The quieter you are, the more peace you preserve, especially when it comes to family matters. Over the years, I've witnessed more family arguments than I can count. Children fighting over inheritances, siblings digging up old resentments, sons and daughters-in-law criticized over parenting or financial decisions. And time after time, my first instinct was always the same. Jump in, offer advice, try to fix it, point out what was right. But with experience comes wisdom, and I learned something crucial. Even the gentlest, kindest words can become fuel to a fire that's already burning. I remember a woman from our reading club named Margaret, thoughtful, warm, and always quick to lend a hand. One afternoon, she gently suggested to her daughter that perhaps her young grandson should start picking up his toys. A simple, well-meaning observation said in passing. Within days, Margaret noticed a shift. Her daughter stopped calling, stopped inviting her over for visits. That one innocent comment, meant only with love, was received as criticism. The distance that grew between them was subtle at first, but it never truly closed again. We older folks often end up as casualties in battles we never intended to join. You try to mediate an argument between two of your children, and suddenly you're accused of taking sides. You offer a small opinion about a son-in-law, and your daughter begins pulling away. You try to help two relatives find common ground, only to be blamed when things fall apart. No matter how gentle your words, if the listener is feeling defensive or hurt, your message can be twisted, misheard, or even weaponized. And the hardest part? When the fight fades away, they often remember what you said more vividly than the original problem, and they may hold on to it for a lifetime. So let me share this with you, heart to heart. Silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom. You don't have to fix every situation. You don't have to choose a side. You don't have to explain or defend your perspective. You can simply say, "I'm sure you'll find a way to work it out." Smile, step back, and protect your peace from being dragged into storms that don't belong to you. Keeping your thoughts to yourself is not a betrayal of love. It's an act of profound respect for yourself and for your family's right to learn, struggle, and grow on their own. At this stage in life, we know something many still don't. Speaking from the heart doesn't always lead to understanding. Sometimes, the truest form of love is silent, offering space, not solutions. Let your children find their own way. Let your family evolve without your constant guidance. Be calm in the storm, not because you're avoiding conflict, but because you've outgrown the need to jump into every fire. Your peace is far too precious to trade for the fleeting feeling of being right. Above all, remember, you've earned your peace. Protect it fiercely. Don't let family drama, or anything else, steal it from you. If these insights resonate with you, I'd love to hear from you. Just comment yes below and share your thoughts. Your wisdom matters here. Number 4, your regrets about the past. There's something no one really teaches us about growing older: how to live with the things we can no longer change. All of us carry regrets. I wish I had slowed down. I wish I had chased my dreams. I wish I had spent more time with my family. These thoughts are deeply human. But here's the truth. Not every regret needs to be spoken aloud, especially not in front of the people you love most. I once knew a woman named Evelyn, a lifelong caregiver and devoted mother. One afternoon, while chatting casually with her daughter, Evelyn said, "I wish I hadn't given up my career." She meant it simply as a moment of reflection. But what her daughter heard was something much heavier. "You weren't worth the sacrifice." That single sentence, spoken so lightly, quietly built a wall between them. one that neither of them fully knew how to tear down. That's the thing about regrets. What feels like honest reflection to you can sound like rejection to someone else. When you say, "I wish I had lived somewhere else," your children might hear that you were unhappy in the home where they built their memories. When you reminisce about old friends, missed adventures, or opportunities lost, your family might wonder if they were never enough to make you feel fulfilled. And when you frequently dwell on what could have been, even unintentionally, it can create a quiet sorrow, making others feel like they're part of a life you would have preferred differently. There's another side to it too. The more you share your regrets openly, the more people may begin to see you as someone stuck in the past instead of someone still vibrant, still living, still dreaming. And that subtle shift in how they treat you, with more hesitation, more caution, more emotional distance, can be heartbreaking. Now, I'm not saying you should bottle everything up. Our memories, even the painful ones, are full of lessons and meaning. But some lessons are meant to be kept quietly in our own hearts, not to hide, but to protect the peace we've built in our relationships. Instead of saying, "I wish I had," try saying, "I've learned so much from that journey." It speaks of gratitude, not regret. It honors your story without placing a burden on those who love you. You don't have to suppress your emotions. You have every right to feel everything deeply, but you also have the right to choose what you share and when, in a way that strengthens your bonds, not strains them. Because the peace we seek in our later years doesn't come from rewriting the past. It comes from the grace we offer ourselves and how we carry it forward. Number 5, the full extent of your financial situation. Growing older teaches us many things, but there's one lesson I wish someone had told me sooner. You don't have to share everything, especially when it comes to money. Finances are a double-edged sword in any relationship, and within families, they carry even more weight. Money can create gratitude, but it can also stir up jealousy. It can open the door to heartfelt support, but just as easily, it can breed entitlement. And once you've shared too much, there's no taking it back. Here's a quiet truth worth reflecting on. Once people know you have enough, they start seeing you differently. Sometimes, even without meaning to, they begin to expect things: support, gifts, promises of inheritance, questions that seem innocent, like "Why not downsize?" or "Are you planning to leave something for the grandkids?" May be dressed up as concern, but they often cross boundaries. On the other hand, if you admit you're struggling, some loved ones may start to overstep in a different way. They may second-guess your decisions, flood you with unsolicited advice, or worry excessively about your every move. What begins as love can quietly become control. Here's the truth. Freedom in your later years isn't just about how much you have. It's about having the final say in what you do with it. When you overshare the details of your savings, investments, or plans, you're not just revealing numbers. You're inviting opinions, pressure, judgment, and sometimes even resentment. Many believe that full transparency prevents misunderstandings. But misunderstandings can be cleared up. Entitlement, once planted, rarely goes away. And when people start to see your wealth instead of your worth, it's painfully hard to return to the closeness you once had. That doesn't mean you should live in secrecy. It's wise to have trusted advisors and clear plans. But beyond what's legally necessary, be selective. Privacy is not secrecy. It's protection. Think about this. True respect doesn't come from knowing your net worth. It comes from knowing that no one else has control over it. And if someone only shows up when money is mentioned, maybe it's not your heart they're after. It's your wallet. Protecting your financial privacy isn't about mistrust. It's about peace of mind. It's about dignity. It's about maintaining the life you spent decades building with your own two hands. In the end, a joyful retirement isn't defined by how much you can give. It's defined by how freely you can live on your own terms. As we wrap up, I invite you to take a quiet moment to breathe and reflect. You've spent a lifetime caring for others, raising families, offering support, keeping the peace. Now it's your turn. At this stage in life, peace isn't a luxury, it's your right. And sometimes the best way to protect it is by keeping certain truths safely tucked away. Not out of fear, not out of secrecy, but out of wisdom. Ask yourself, what truly deserves to be shared, and what deserves to be protected? Your peace of mind, your independence, and your joy are worth guarding. You've earned the right to live the rest of your life with clarity, calm, and quiet confidence. If this video spoke to you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may need to hear these words. And we'd love to hear from you. In the comments, tell us, what's one thing you're choosing to keep for yourself from now on? We read every message, and your story might just inspire someone else. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Until next time, take care of your peace and protect it like the treasure it is. And just a reminder, the more you share your regrets, the more others may begin to see you as someone stuck in the past, rather than someone still living fully in the present. That perception can quietly shift how they treat you, with more hesitation, more caution, and more emotional distance. I'm not saying you should bottle everything up. Our memories and reflections have deep value. Sometimes they offer lessons worth holding on to. But often, those lessons are best kept for our own quiet understanding. Not because we're hiding anything, but because we're choosing to protect the peace within our relationships. Instead of saying, "I wish I had," try saying, "I've learned a lot from that journey." It carries gratitude instead of sorrow, and it honors your story without placing a burden on anyone else. You don't have to suppress your emotions, but you do have the beautiful right to choose what you share and when. Because the truth is this: peace in our later years doesn't come from rewriting the past. It comes from the grace we show ourselves and how we live with it.